but for the flooding too. So I'll break down the timing, get into what you can expect ahead here. But what you're seeing behind me, our current satellite and radar, you're seeing the green colors begin to take over the state. It's starting off light, but once it begins, it'll be pretty steady. You can actually see there is some blue coloration here on our map in the Berkshires and the Worcester Hills. I will say, though, I have looked at our observations. I'm looking at them on my iPad right here, right off screen. There is no snow falling in southern New England. I don't expect that, at least not till the evening tomorrow. And when it does fall tomorrow, it'll be light. But more importantly, I just want you to know that everything you're seeing here is rain, even though our radar having a tough time discerning that. What we're watching, though, is a pretty big storm system. It extends all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico. At least it did yesterday. A lot of that moisture now migrating northwards. And what we have here is a cold front which is stretched out across portions of the mid-Atlantic and Midwest. We have another system to the south and east of that. That's sitting right there between North Carolina and Virginia. And a whole lot of rain in the middle here. That's stretched out across really all of the mid-Atlantic and again into the southeast U.S. And of course that rain is what we're watching because it's moving here. Now, in addition to the rainfall, it's this low pressure system I just mentioned that's sitting right there by Virginia and North Carolina. That's an important one because it's going to move overhead tomorrow. And as it does, we're talking about the potential for flooding. So what that's going to do is when you have lower pressure in the air, you're actually able to get ocean waters to rise a bit more. We are going to be at astronomical high tide, so tomorrow around noon, our natural height would be 11.5 feet in Boston. It only takes you to about 12.5 feet before you can start to get some flooding concerns. So we're not far off from that to begin with, but with the low overhead, with the wind, which is going to be strong out of the southeast, blowing that water onshore, we're certainly talking about the potential for at least minor flooding, if not moderate flooding, across parts of the coastline. And additionally, you're seeing just how substantial the precipitation shield, we'll call it, is. That tells you all you need to know about how much is on its way. We're going to see at least an inch, pretty widespread here. Many areas picking up closer to 1.5 inches, and isolated totals up to 2. So we'll walk you through it here with Futurecast, and what you're seeing is by about 9 o'clock, everything really beginning to get taken over. Now, what you saw on radar before was a lot of that light green. A lot of that is mist, fine drizzle, but by the time we get to 9, and Futurecast does a really good job depicting this, you get those yellow colors stretching out. That's your really steady and even moderate rainfall. So that's the legit rainfall, we'll call it, and that's what's going to take us through the night. And that'll also raise some concerns for some of those rivers, which have been high the past several days, especially the Connecticut River here in western Mass, and some of our rivers, several of them in eastern Mass. I'll show you that in just a second, which ones we're most concerned about here. But a lot of rainfalls overnight. There's a lot of those orange and yellow colors. That's your steady, moderate, and even heavy at times rainfall. And that's going to be a big reason we have, again, such a substantial amount of precipitation, because this system is pretty fast moving. And by the time we get to about 6, 7, 8 a.m., a lot of that steady rain, if not all of it, will be out. So we get a ton of this rainfall in a small amount of time. And here we are at 7 a.m. There's your rain beginning to taper off in eastern Mass. Not a lot left, but you'll still notice showers throughout the daytime. You may also see some peaks of sun. And right here on our Futurecast, there's your dry air trying to break through before the more dominant cold front moves in. So that's something that will dry us out and cool us off later in the day. And in fact, you're going to notice here, if I play it forward, some of those blue colors showing up. There may be some flurries. Wouldn't shock me if there are as we get into the evening tomorrow. I don't really expect anything to stick, but you may see some snowflakes in the air. In terms of rain chances tomorrow, well, it's going to really wind down pretty quick. So here we are, 4 a.m., 90% chance for rain. And then by the time we get to 8 a.m., you're looking at that chance dropping below 50%. And again, just a couple showers linger during the daytime. You may see 1 or 2. Not going to be a substantial source of rainfall, though. Amounts of rain are going to be on the order of 1 inch to 1.5 inches in many spots. Some areas get up to 2. I mentioned that a moment ago, but I'll throw it on the map for you here. And there are your totals. Again, pretty high, especially across central and eastern Massachusetts. That's where we have the greatest chance for that heaviest precipitation, enough that we are going to make a run. And I do believe we're going to get there in Boston at our month average rainfall. So between the rain we had earlier this week, between the rain coming now, that's pretty substantial to reach the amount of rainfall you typically see in the month of March in just the first 10 days. Tells you a lot about just how wet it's been here in not just southern New England, but really the region as a whole recently. Now we'll get to some of the more important stuff, flood outlook this weekend. So let's talk about where there are the greatest risks for flooding. And what I'm seeing here and what you're looking at are a lot of these yellow dots inland. Those are rivers that will be at their quote, near flood stage as it's determined. That's where you do need to be paying attention, because you're really borderline. You can get some flooding right when you're on that near flood stage. So make sure that you're aware, really, if you're near any creeks or rivers or anything prone to flooding. You know it, of course, if you live near something like that. Just be aware tomorrow. Now, if you live near one of these orange dots, so we're talking about the Taunton River there in Bridgewater, certainly one of those spots. And really, actually, any of these areas in eastern Mass, if you live near one of the major rivers, there is a chance we get to some of those flood levels. I mentioned the Taunton River, though, specifically because we've seen it more susceptible. It's been flooding the past, or near flooding the past couple of days, and it's something you need to pay especially close attention to. But we also have the coastline, which we're watching closely as well. Each of these orange boxes here, you can see that all across our east-facing coastlines and even north-facing on the Cape there, that there will be minor flooding, and we feel very confident in that minor flooding occurring. Again, between the astronomically high tide, between your persistent wind from the southeast, and that low pressure system directly overhead, it's really the perfect kind of mix of conditions. Now, if we had a stronger storm, it would be more severe, but still minor flooding is expected. Now, there are some places like Hampton Beach in New Hampshire. That's where we've seen some big flooding this year. You know, think back to January, even December, where we had those pictures coming in of really high flood waters. That's one of our main concerns with those areas that are more susceptible. Don't believe it's going to be to that level like we saw earlier in the winter, but it may be moderate, and that's a serious threat if you live on that area, so make sure you're paying close attention to that. Our south-facing beaches, too, may see some flooding, though probably not going to be quite as substantial for places like the islands and the southern portion of the Cape. Just this one doesn't appear to be as dramatic as some of our areas on to the east, at least facing east. So important to note that, but here's an overview for you. Suncook River, Sudbury River, Taunton River, all areas that may reach their minor flood stage. Merrimack River will be close, so make sure you're paying attention there too. And on our coastlines, I mentioned Hampton, New Hampshire, moderate flooding is what the forecast calls for. Gloucester, Scituate, Dennis, all expecting that minor flooding. So again, a very impactful storm. And that really sums up what we're seeing here in southern New England. But I'll make note too, northern New England going to get some snow out of this as well. Looks like a widespread 6 to 12 for many of those highest peaks. It's a super elevation dependent snow though. And we're actually seeing, again, in some of those valleys, perhaps as little as no snowfall. So it depends on exactly where you're looking, but actually we can zoom in on this. I can give you a better idea of what I'm talking about. But some of our valleys here, such as the one that cuts right between, really separates the Vermont-New Hampshire border, you can see the snowfall forecast expected to be perhaps an inch, but then you talk about some of the White Mountains, some of the Green Mountains, we're talking about a foot, even 18 inches in some of those spots. So super elevation dependent snow. Really important, of course, if you're a skier. That's where you're hoping the snow falls in the mountains, and it will, but temperatures will still get into the 40s across the region tomorrow, so it's not necessarily something that is going to last super long, and this week looking reasonably mild anyway. I'm pulling up temperatures for you so you can see what I'm talking about. These are your highs, so after the system comes through, we actually warm up during the day. Boston may reach the low 50s right around the morning, and then we're going to see those 40s in northern New England by the midday. So not a cold day tomorrow as the rain falls, but certainly an impactful rainfall. And we'll wrap this up in a minute, but I'll bring you back to our radar. Just give you a summary of what we're looking at now. Time it out for you again. Here we are, satellite radar. There's your green coloration moving right through the area right now. I'm going to pull up my little arrow here so you can see what I'm talking about a little better. There we go. You see that right there? There's your blue arrow. We got that first initial round of rain beginning to move into central Mass at this time. Not a lot of it's very heavy, but you're noticing drops, and then the rain really gets steady by the time we get to about 8, 9 o'clock tonight. So we're not far off from that, but this is sort of your precursor, just a little warning. Hey, rain's on its way, and it's going to be here pretty quickly. And if we take a look at the system as a whole, we have really two areas to pay close attention to. We got this cold front, which is sitting to the west of us right now, and this western front is going to come through in the back half of tomorrow. It's going to drop temperatures. It's going to help to make things really windy. And the system that's going to help to cause the flooding is this low pressure system that's going to be moving up the coast in our direction, and as it does, it'll help those ocean waters rise. Midday tomorrow is when flooding is going to be at its peak in terms of impacts, so around noon. And as in terms of heavy rainfall, that'll be out by about 7 a.m., but certainly going to fill those rivers back up to their banks in many spots. Even though most of the rain will be out by the morning, that flood threat for rivers will continue throughout the day. And in some cases, depending on exactly which river it is, that threat could continue into Monday morning. So, you know, again, I should mention too, wind will be reasonably strong. Gusts up to 50 miles per hour are possible on the Cape and Islands. Some of our coastlines may see gusts up to 40 to 45 miles per hour. Nothing we haven't seen before, but certainly impactful. Just really a messy Sunday, and the evening, even after the rain's out, will be breezy. So make sure you plan for that. Otherwise, you know, we've had a few of these systems this winter. It is technically early spring in meteorological terms now, and not a lot's changing in terms of the pattern. So just be prepared, do what you've been doing, make sure you're ready to take action if you live near an area that'll flood. And we'll look forward to sunnier days. I'll leave you with the 7-day here before we jump off. You'll see better conditions. That's why I want to leave you with this. Leave you with a good thought. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday even, all looking like sun will dominate over clouds, and we warm up pretty quickly too, with temps getting back up to 50 degrees by Tuesday. Even Monday, though we're going to be cooler. Not bad, 45. I mean, it's March. That's not bad at all. We're up to 54 on Wednesday, and we may get to 60 on Thursday. That's what I'm excited about, and we get sun with it too. So looking forward to better days this week. For now, stay dry, stay safe. And as always, you can find updates here with us on the web. Of course, we'll be on air tomorrow morning again at 8 a.m. Vicki will be here, so be sure to tune in for the latest in her forecast. And of course, I'll be on here tomorrow evening back at 10 o'clock. So make sure you stick with us. We'll keep you updated with all the latest. And if you have any questions, you can always reach out to us on social media too. We're watching this closely, and we're here for you guys. So stay dry, stay safe.